Cow guy close. Let's go to this. Gen Z now, they're treating their employers like bad dates now, right? 90% they ghost interviews and 87% have not even shown up for their first day of work without so much as a phone call. The employment website Indeed, you've heard of that, surveyed 1,500 businesses and 1,500 working people in the UK and found that job ghosting is rife, with 75% of workers saying they've ignored a prospective employer in the past year. Yeah, you heard that right. Talk about leverage. Where do they think it's coming from? And at some point in time, these kids, because that is how they're acting, or they're going to get a dose of reality, I hope. Now, a whopping 93% of Gen Zers told the global recruitment platform that they've flaked out of an interview. I'm not even sure what that means. We're still a stack managed to charm their way through the interviews, secured the job, signed the contract, only to leave their new boss stranded on the very first day. Unconscionable. Now, their reason for doing so, according to the survey, it makes them feel in charge of their career. Wow. And I bet they all want to work from home as well. Where is this insanity coming from? How does it end? And does it end? Now, my next guest has hired a lot of young people lately, so we thought we'd ask her. Please welcome into the studio, Rebecca Walser. Rebecca, you're a fan favorite, an instant fan favorite. And we saw this story, and we thought this is something you've absolutely got to say something on, because you know young people in the workforce better than most of us.
Yes, I do. I have several Gen Zers and lots of millennials. But you know, Scott, I was telling your producer about an incident. I have a business colleague. You know, we're all entrepreneurs running our own businesses, and he had a Gen Zer basically tell him while football playoffs were happening. They live in Dallas. Their practice is in Dallas, and he said his Gen Zer said to him, "You know, Scott, his name is Scott too. He said, I really need to have the day off tomorrow because I need to be home for the start of the Pittsburgh Steelers playoff game at 5 o'clock, and if I come to work, I won't be home." And Scott had reminded him, "Well, we just had a firm-wide meeting 2 weeks ago that said for time off, you need to get requests 2 weeks in advance, unless, of course, it's an emergency. And a football game doesn't qualify as an emergency. You never lived in Pittsburgh. You know, this is just his team." And you know what he said? This Gen Zer looked at him and he said, "I'm really committed to having the day." And fortunately, days in Dallas, and so they worked remotely that day, so the guy didn't have to take the day off. But the next day he was fired that morning because, you know, we're Gen Xers. We're between the baby boomers and the millennials. We didn't grow up in the era of if we show up, we get congratulated. If we lose, we still get a trophy. And you know, Scott, what's occurred to me recently is that I used to just take this as, okay, these people are snowflakes and this is all just, you know, ridiculous, and we'll get this generation back once they get started in the workforce. They'll understand what real world is like. But what I'm starting to realize now is this is actually intentional, and this is nefarious, and this is like they dumbed down the American education system to generate a nation really of sheeple, of people that will just listen to the propaganda of mainstream media and just say everything is fine. That was obviously intentional. This is intentional. This is taking the American ingenuity, the American spirit, American exceptionalism, and it is turning us into a generation, their generation of weak, apathetic, I don't want to say losers, but essentially that, because if you can destroy the country from within, if you can take away their identity, if you can mass immigrate, which is what they've done in Europe, right? If you can mass immigrate and there's no culture, there's no history, there's no nothing, now you really lost the country and you can really do whatever you want.
And to that point, you're exactly right. And to that point, they've got some leverage now because folks can't find anybody to work, right? And so these employers are acquiescing.
Yes.
People that I used to hold in high regard are letting people work from home when I don't think they should ever do that.
Right.
I mean, I don't know about where you started, but I can tell you right now, the conversations around the water cooler or in the canteen were integral to my growing up in this industry and learning from the guy or girl above me that was doing really well and trading a lot and had a lot of customers.
Of course.
That's gone.
Yeah.
And so what is it going to look like in 15, 20 years from now in those? And we've heard all the stories, or my producer Ashley can say, the people that bring their parents in when they get a bad work review. And that means we've lost not that generation, but also the parents' generation.
Because they're acquiescing to such a ridiculous demand.
So where is this going to be, and what would be the thing behind it? We have about a minute and a half.
I know. I need more time with you. You know, I think that as far as these Gen Zers, I mean, the UK trend to accept and sign your name to a contract and then not show up. I mean, I'm a lawyer. You do that to me, I'll probably sue you, rightfully so, and you should expect to be sued in America. We have got to stop this, Scott. Listen, our country has officially become lost, and if people like you and me and all of the good people don't band together and do something about it, it is going to be lost. You get lost when good people stand by and do nothing.
Right, and so this whole idea that we want to do things that are convenient and we don't want to do things that make us, that's where you go off the rails.
That's apathy.
It's exactly right. So things that are worth doing are hard.
Things that are rewarding take time and energy and perseverance and effort, and that's called life. And wake up, people, and let's get America back. I mean, I hate to be so hyperbolic, but all of these things converging all together, Scott, it is a designed thing.
All right. I totally agree with you. So I've got my smile on. I wish we could have more time. We're going to move on. Stay right there. We're going to move on to the cow phone and see what everybody at home